Hi guys, this is your average Jolene doing a first impression video on a game that I've recently reviewed the trailer for, and that's called Diablo 2 Resurrected. I was absolutely sold on the trailer, and so I decided to buy the game and try it out for myself, as my rating was taking 3 days off for this game, and I was brainwashed the second I started playing that game. Okay, I was immersed. So without further ado, we'll get into the review. Well, first impressions. I want to just let everyone know that the game is currently on the market for $39.99 through Blizzard, the Battle.net app. But they did have their October sale, so I was actually very lucky and I managed to get it for, I think it was €14, which seems that when I went to get the screenshot, it was back to $39.99, so I think it just ended. So I just want to put that out there. I would have bought the game if it was $49.99 as well, but I think I just got super lucky with the pricing. Now, the big elephant in the room is that did the cinematic match the gameplay? Personally, I don't think I'm too phased when it comes to the actual style of the gaming. If I'm sold on the trailer, I will try the game regardless of the style of gameplay, unless it's an absolute catfish. In this case, I don't think it was catfish at all. We got beautiful cinematics, we got beautiful graphics, the animation was lovely, so it did match the vibe of the actual trailer. So I was really happy about that. I was easily immersed into the actual gameplay of it. The game itself plays really well. It plays really smoothly, and the combats, the attacking, the interactions with other NPCs and everything was very seamless. It was great. It was smooth. I didn't feel like anything was jaggedy or anything like that. I really enjoyed it. Anytime I interacted with the NPCs, the voice actors and all just pulled me into the game. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed listening to the quests, and I had the dialogues come up with the voice actors as well as reading, so I was able to do both. So accessibility there was great. Really enjoyed the quest lines that they were giving me as well, which kind of happened later on in the game, which I will come back to. So yeah, the game plays really well, especially for beginners. It's easily understood, and it doesn't take a lot when it comes to actual fighting and such. It doesn't take a lot to kind of pick it up. Now, the confusing part about this game was the key bindings, okay? For somebody like myself, yes, I'm a clicker. It is what it is, but I do have previous experience with games such as Dungeon Siege and Torchlight, so I do understand ARPGs. So I use those experiences in this game, but trying to bind my keys and in a specific manner was a little confusing at the start. I did get some tips and tricks from my viewers because I think they just got fed up of watching me fail. But I don't think it would have taken me out of the game altogether. I think I just had to read more really and just put a bit more time into it. So it wasn't a huge problem or an issue, but it would have taken me a bit longer to run down myself. The other biggest burden I had, which again is not necessarily a huge issue, but it's the fact that I had to travel to town all the time. Okay, the inventory is very small, and for somebody like me who likes to collect everything, and especially as a beginner to this game, I wanted to pick up everything, have a look at everything, try everything, and I was just constantly back into town all the time, getting the portal scrolls, getting the identifying scrolls and everything. That's pretty standard, but I feel like the inventory could have been a little bit more so that you spend more time on the map than you would just in town selling your stuff, right? Not a big deal, really. Soon enough after, I realized that the money or general gold currency is not as important in the game, or at least not at the moment in Act 1. So I kind of stopped picking up a lot of the crap, and I was just focusing on kind of blue items upwards, so second tier onwards, which kind of eased it up a little bit of how often I had to go back to town. But personally, I would have liked to kind of continuously pick up items and have a look at them and see what they are, just because I think it's nice to see what the producers of the game, the developers, gave us, so not to ignore it all the time. So that was kind of, they kind of fought against themselves there. The other little confusing thing was the belt, but that was super easy to catch on to later on. It was just initially, I didn't feel like I had enough of explanation for a beginner, but literally I think it was a few minutes later where I was like, oh, now I get it. Like, it just kind of skips on and off. I think maybe because I didn't have to use it as often at the start as I would have later on, especially as a necromancer. I was using the mana a lot. Like, I was running out of mana a lot. So, which brings me to another one of my points, is that this game rewards experimenting. And that, what I mean by that is, I chose a necromancer class, and I ended up having to use a crossbow for a certain period of time as my secondary build, because my mana was just, I was draining my mana too much. And for me, it worked. Okay, I had damage. I was getting through the map just fine. But one of my viewers told me I had a hipster build, so I had a good laugh about that. But what I do like about it is that it allows for people to try new things in the game. Something that might work, something that might not work at all. But it allows for you to think about what you're doing and, you know, find your way, your own way through the game in whatever way you want, really. You don't have to kind of set yourself in a mold that was prepared for you before. Are you going to get all the perks from it? Maybe not, but it will get you to where you're trying to get in your own way, which is really, really a huge benefit. Which also allows for people to, once you've completed the game, you can try again and try on a different class and try a different pathway of what you were doing and different weapons and everything. So I think that adds to the replayability of the game, which is, again, a huge benefit. Saying that, I didn't feel super overwhelmed with the amount of choices I had. I think it was just a happy medium, because personally I prefer the games to be a bit more on the simpler side, but with more options. Okay, and this game delivered on that aspect, because I wasn't blown away with the amount of choices, options, things just being thrown at me as soon as I spawned into the world. No, you just had one man to talk to, which then sends you to another man. So I absolutely love that aspect, because my brain was not fried the second I started playing this game, and that's a huge benefit and huge bonus, because it's one of those type of games that you enjoy playing and you can tune out. You can turn off your brain for a little while and immerse yourself in a world that is not going to make your brain waves over exaggerated. So that was a great thing about the game, and I just can't wait to get back into it, to be honest. The game did feel a little bit dark, especially in the Act 1. Now, I've just arrived to Act 2, so I am aware that it will happen, it will occur in a desert. So maybe the map will get lighter in general, but the first act was quite dark. So for anyone who has any type of sensory issues, or, you know, kind of more sensitive eyes and stuff, this can be a bit more harsh on you. You can change the brightness in the game, but the way I find it, if you bring up the brightness in a game, it will turn the blacks into grays, so you're not really feeling as immersed as you would have. So it's not a huge deal breaker for me personally, but it can be for other people who have more sensitive eyes and such. Another point was that I enjoyed playing the game so much, and I just kept fighting, going from one map to another, without even realizing that I haven't done the first quest. And I ended up in a place called Monastery, which is like almost, it's basically the last quest line, the last quest. And I ended up there just purely because I just kept going. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because you're able to go on playing this game without having to feel the need that you are locked behind any kind of gate, that you need to complete something to get to another building, or you know. So I feel like the quests are not necessarily enforced, which is a good thing, but you can also add to the storyline by actually completing the quest. So what I did is I ended up just going way too far and having to come back. Not a big deal. I had a town portal. I could go back. I listened to those quests again. You know, I read my quests. I enjoyed them. It wasn't a big deal that I had to go back at all. In fact, I felt like I was a little more powerful, so I was able to take on more and more mobs without any issues. And that brings me to a point where during my whole Act 1 gameplay, I never felt that I was super weak or that I had issues trying to fight any demons or any mobs or any elites or any rares or anything like that. I was overpowered when I entered certain sections after my quest, but before that, which was easily, I want to say 2 hours of my life, I felt very strong still. Okay, so it didn't feel like I was too weak. My items were too weak or too crappy, and my Skeletors and my Golem was weak. No, it felt very strong, and I was able to kind of go through the game without any difficulty. Now, I am playing it on a normal. Okay, I do understand there's different modes to the game, so you have hardcore as well, and probably more difficult. I'm just playing this on a normal, giving it a first try, and I didn't feel weak at all, so that's a benefit, that's a plus. The only instance where I found myself struggling and the game being a bit difficult was in fact actually a good thing. I walked into the chamber of the last boss, and like a big girl, I thought I was just going to nail her just like I killed everyone else. Nope, I got popped, which I was actually happy about, because I went through this whole game without dying. There was some close calls where I had no mana and I had to use a lot of critical thinking of what I'm going to do next. Okay, I need to get my Skeletors out. I need somebody to tank this damage for me so I can just continue on dealing range damage. Okay, but with the last boss, I soon realized that I'm too big for my boots, and I had to genuinely think about what I'm doing, how I'm moving, how much mana I'm using, and what my next step is going to be. And I really, really appreciated that, because the game was just not on autopilot. Something took me by surprise, and I really had to use my brain. And even though the mechanics were simple, I was thrown off, and I really liked it. So I ended up dying at the first boss because I got popped. Soon to realize that you do get charged for, when your higher dies, you get charged for dying. If I understood it correctly, you can then just go back to your grave and just pick up your items and such. And what I also liked is that the last boss did not reset. With some of the games, they do tend to just full HP back up, but in this case, in this game, it doesn't. So that's great for quality of life. Like you made a progression on the boss. Okay, you got to figure out your next step, you got to try again, but the boss HP is not full. So it's like it's not the punishment is not that bad, other than dropping your items and trying to make your way back. Okay, so I think that was very fair. I ended up, watching where I was stepping. I got tagged again. I had to make sure that my pot was used at the right time. I even kited her backwards just so I can keep doing damage. I kept popping my Golem out just so he can take some aggro and I can just blast her. Again, he just died. So I had to go upstairs into the other chamber. Okay, reset. Wait for my mana to reset as well. Like, genuinely actually had to put some time into it. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't super difficult either. It was simple, but it had a hardcore level to it where it's like, yes, this is an actual boss. This is the boss of Act 1, and we want you to know that. And that's exactly what happened. And I could really appreciate the fact that the last boss was more difficult and I actually had to use my brain for it. Even if it was just simple, but it just took me off guard, and I had to think about what I'm doing and how I'm moving, and I could really appreciate that. I think I was on the game for about 8 hours, so I think Act 1 took me around 8 hours or so. It probably would have taken me a little bit longer if I didn't have those tips. It wouldn't have stopped me from playing the game. It just would have it would have taken me longer to actually understand the game, or at least the key bindings as such. So having 8 hours for Act 1, maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. I was fully immersed for all of those 8 hours. I really enjoyed it. And I'm thinking probably Act 2 is going to take me maybe 6 hours now that I know what's going on. I don't know. We'll see. But my thoughts on the game in general, I really enjoyed it. It's very replayable. It plays really well. It's very satisfying. The loot system is fair. The power system spikes seem to be fair as of Act 1. The bosses, also great. I'm looking forward to the next act boss. And I feel like I need to get my crap together. So overall, I'm very satisfied. I do believe that the trailer has sold the game on its merits, and it is well worth it. Even just for the first 8 hours of the game, the first act. I really do believe that it was worth it, and I am happy that the trailer was the way it was, because now I have an incredible game to play forever and replay on numerous different classes. So those were my thoughts on it. I have probably forgot a few just purely because I have so many thoughts about the game, and I could be blabbing on for hours, but I'm trying to keep it a little bit shorter. So if you guys have any comments, any suggestions, any tips, or anything that you liked, disliked about this game, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.